All right, welcome back to the Power Breakfast Show. Now, this morning we are hosting Steve Owondo. He's the chairman of the National Construction Authority, and we are going to be discussing the role of the NCA, the registration of contractors, and also training of the youth in Mafundi Mufti program. And he's going to be joined, of course, by Mutegi Njau. And we welcome your views and comments on the same. We want you to give us your input as well, and we want you to talk to us on 22422. That number is 22422. Send in your questions, your views, your comments, and of course, as always, your suggestions as well. On Twitter, the hashtag remains Power Breakfast. Mutegi?
Welcome, Mr. Owondo.
Oh, thank you very much.
I was surprised to see you here because I must declare that I used to work with Mr. Owondo's father many years ago at the Weekly Review. But now that is history. The National Construction Authority is a very new institution in this country. And only people come to know about it when they see X's in buildings. That's when you find an X, you wonder, what is this? And you know it's not about roads, it's on a building. What is the National Construction Authority? What are they supposed to do?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. It's a great honor and privilege to be here. Yeah, the National Construction Authority was formed through an Act of Parliament 2011, number 41, CAP 449. Basically, our work is to regulate and coordinate construction activities. One of our key mandates is the registration of contractors. Before, anybody could be a contractor, but with a series of increased collapsing buildings in the country, there was the need to actually bring sanity in the construction industry, and we wanted to professionalize construction. Because before, you could have somebody who was probably running a hair salon, probably selling newspapers, they go register a company, and within 2 days they already find themselves with a contract, yet they don't have the technical know-how in terms of construction. So we have 8 categories starting of contractors. Yeah. So the lowest cadre is anybody who's trying to do a contract of, let's say, 5 million and below. That is the entry level. Then we move on, that is NCA 8, and it builds up. If somebody wants to do contracts of 50 million, that's NCA 7. If somebody wants to do contracts of 100 million, NCA 6, and it keeps rising that way. Now, the highest level is NCA 1, which is divided into 2 sections. If we're looking at builders' work, we're looking at contracts of 1 billion and above. And if we're looking at road contracts, we're looking at 1.5 billion and above. One of the essence in terms of the registration is the separation between local contractors and foreign contractors. Foreign contractors can only be registered in NCA 1. And over and above being registered, the definition of a foreign contractor is a company where you have 50% plus 1 foreign ownership. Okay? Now, even when a company is registered as a foreign contractor, 30% of the contract sum must be subcontracted to a local so that we can have transfer of technology. The other alternative is that company must enter into a joint venture between a local company and itself, so that at the end of the day, we're not having a scenario where we're having foreigners working here, and at the end of the day, we are not benefiting in terms of transfer of technology and also creating capacity for our local contractors. If you look at the survey that was done, the economic survey for 2014-2015, you'll find that the construction sector contributed 13.6%, and we created 1 million jobs. So that just gives you the impact of construction within this country.
Before we go to other details, let's talk about foreign contracting. A lot of Kenyans are worried now about Chinese. They are fast. I don't know whether their quality is good, but if you give a contract to the Chinese company to build, they're very fast. And the people are worried that Kenyan contractors may be run out of business.
The fear, of course, is understandable, but maybe let me just give you a few statistics just to give you a sense of comfort. Right now we have about 20,275 certificates we have issued out to contractors within this country.
20,000?
Yes, okay. But you also have to understand, when I say that, a contractor can be registered in different classes. There is builders work, there is road works, there's electrical works, there's plumbing works, water works. Okay, so you might find a contractor has 3 certificates. But if I give you another statistic, we have 10,148 contractors. Okay, but of this figure, only 1% are foreign contractors. So like in the figure when I'm talking about 10,148, under that category, only 69 are foreign contractors. If you look at the other figure given you of 20,275, you have 136 as foreigners. So the percentage is very small. The other thing you also have to note is that the foreign contractors are only supposed to execute works in NCA1, which is works of 1 billion and above, and when it comes to builders works, and 1.5 billion when it comes to road works. Now,
I don't know how you can do that, because if I have a project and I want efficiency, and it's not worth $1 billion.
Yes.
Why can't I give it to a Chinese or to a foreigner? Because it's my work. I'm a private person. I want to build this hotel in 6 months.
Yes.
Why can't I give to a foreigner even if it's not worth $1 billion?
You see what happens?
What will stop me?
What will stop you is the registration of that contractor. Because what we have done, that contractor can only be allowed to do 1 project at a time. So if there's any contractor who is doing, who is a foreign contractor and is doing more than 1 project at a time, right now that is irregular. But you also have to remember that our act is just about 3 years old, and we had to take cognizance that there were some contractors who had already been engaged by clients before the enactment of the act. So we gave them a window of 18 months, which I think is expiring somewhere mid this year, where they had to regularize. So a contractor, if you're a foreign contractor and you're doing more than 1 project within this country, under the NCA Act, that is illegal. And that is why I'm saying, as much as you may want to use that foreign contractor for your own personal project, the contractor himself will be breaching the law if he takes more than 1. You get it? And you have to remember, when the Act was formed, to be a contractor in the Republic of Kenya, you must be on the register of the National Construction Authority. So you, and I would say you look like you might be tempted, of course, to pick one of them. If you are actually engaging a contractor who is not registered by the National Construction Authority, you are breaching the law, and also the person who is doing that work is in breach of the law.
Surely, if, say for instance, I've got a plot of land in where I come from,
yes, yes,
and I want to build my residence, retirement house, and I want to engage a contractor, why would I bother whether it's registered or not? I can as well build it myself.
What I like,
employ a foodie and tell him, you supervise for me and buy the materials and get some local carpenter here and there.
If you go back to the principle of the formation of the National Construction Authority, you need to remember, why was it formed? It's not just the issue of registration of contractors. We had quite a number of series of collapsed buildings. And I'm sure if you look within the media, like even over the last, there's always a building collapse of some sort. So we're supposed to bring sanity. And you know the thing about construction, I would like to use the word, it has this connotation of wajuaji. Everybody believes that they know how to build, just as you put it here. It's only when the collapse happens is when you start hearing people asking questions. Where was the county government? Where was the National Construction Authority? What I was trying to preach, and this is a gospel, I'm preaching to you and I'm preaching to everybody, yes? Let us learn how to do the right thing. The number of buildings you see out there with the X on them, it means there's something that they have not complied with in relation to the construction. One, if a project is over 5 million shillings, there's a levy that it attracts. And what is that levy supposed to be doing? It is supposed to be used to create capacity for contractors. It's supposed to be used for training of site supervisors and also construction workers. That is really what that levy is supposed to be. Is the building approved by the county government? If it's not, you'll find an X. Are you using registered consultants, architects, quantity surveyors, structural engineers? Especially for projects that are above $1 million, they're of a certain scale. What are the safety standards on that project? Sometimes you find somebody's building on a road reserve. I mean, surely. Let us start wanting to do the right thing. Any construction has got 4 players. One is the law, and that is of course administered by the government. That's why we have agencies like the National Construction Authority, we have the county governments. The second party, and the most important, is, I would say, you, the developer, the person who wants to do their project. It is natural as a person that you'd like to put up your building in a most cost-effective way. But cost-effective does not mean shortcuts. That is why we are there as an authority. Number 3 are consultants, the architects, the quantity surveyors. They play a very important role. And then number 4, the most important person in a site is the contractor, because that's the person who is there 24/7. So like a football team, you have a goalkeeper, the defenders, the midfielder, the attacker. In construction, you have those 4 main players: the government, the developer, the consultants, and the contractor. Working together as a team, that is what is going to bring sanity within the construction industry.
A lot of people build houses, particularly residential, not shops, without anybody. They just build themselves.
Yes.
And they live there.
Yes.
Where do you come in?
Where do we come in? Let me explain something. Even though I'd mentioned about the levy, the government was of course cognizant of the fact about the sector that you're talking about.
Yeah.
If somebody is building their simple 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, single-story building in the village, where does the authority come in?
Yeah.
What the authority does, first and foremost, such construction, so long as they're less than 5 million, they do not attract any levy. But the authority wants those projects registered. Why? So that as the government of Kenya is planning to address the housing deficit in the country, you need to know how many houses are being built up every day. Even as you're building those houses, you need to know who is building them. How many carpenters do we have? How many plumbers do we have? How many electricians do we have? So the role of the authority may not be as sometimes perceived to come in for the purposes of levy, but it is for purposes of information, which is going to help the country. We need to increase our database. If we're trying to attain our Millennium Goals for Vision 2030, and as I've just presented here to you, with a sector that is doing 13.6% of the GDP, there's a lot going on. And then the other thing you have to remember in construction, its scale of employment is so wide. The ladies who are there making chapati or making dengu or githeri, that is employment being created. The person who is transporting sand to the site or ballast, that is employment. I have listed here the list of the construction workers, the carpenters, the plumbers. That is creation of employment. When the project of course is larger, we're talking about the consultants, okay? And you can imagine how much tax is generated from the construction industry, which of course our government uses to develop our country.
What you are saying is that anybody building anything in this country today, you must have that board on the site to show what is happening there.
I would ask you a question, why not? What are you hiding? Are you building your house for yourself? Yes, you are. What does a construction site signboard say? It simply says 1. What is the name of the project? So Mr. Onyango is building a 2-bedroom house. It asks, who is building it? We want to know who the contractor is. So the information is there. Do you have approval? You put the information there. Who is your contractor? Put the information there.
Even if the house is less than 5 million.
Yes. You remember I told you. Yes, you remember I'm explaining to you. If you don't put that information, how is the government going to know what is happening in the country? And also remember, even if the project is less than 5 million, it still can kill, isn't it?
Of course.
Yes. If it is 5 million and it is a simple, but it's 2 stories and the building collapses, I mean, we're going to be asked, where were you? So the point is, in good faith, the reason why you're giving that information to the National Construction Authority is for planning purposes. It is also to ensure that you are using the right people.
Does the National Construction Authority have a capacity, the capacity to cover the entire country?
You remember, it's I would call it a baby that was born 3 years ago, but it has been enhancing its capacity. We have 47 counties right now. I would say comfortably we are at 20, okay, right across the country, and we're still moving on that. And remember, just like I like giving the example, even if it's like tax collection, Kenya Revenue Authority, distributed around the whole country. If we as developers, everybody's trying to do the right thing, you are actually helping the NCA do its work, okay? But if you're going to say, I'm not going to do the right thing until NCA comes to my site and puts an X, then of course we are working in a retrogressive way.
Let's talk about capacity.
Yes.
You talked about plumbers, electricians, and carpenters, whatever. There's people who work there.
Yes.
The technicians. A lot of village polytechnics closed down. In fact, I remember, like where I come from, there used to be a village polytechnic. Now the village polytechnic was converted to a university.
Okay.
To a university. And the village polytechnic, they are not there. In fact, to get carpenters and plumbers, it's very difficult. So what are you doing about that?
What you've actually brought out is, I would say, a true scenario that is happening on the ground. Let me give you an interesting statistic. Of all the fundis in the country right now, when I say fundis, I'm talking about masons, carpenters, welders. Only 17% have received formal technical training, which can be supported by certificates, all right? Yet, they're actually out there working. And we have, of course, as an authority, being part of our mandate, our work is, of course, to accredit and register and train these particular workers. So when we found this problem, what have we done as an authority? We've realized that we had to come up with a model that would be able to assess somebody who doesn't have formal training, supported by documentation, but for sure for the last 10, 5, 20 years has actually been doing that. It means they do have a skill. So we're coming up with a curriculum where you can actually have somebody, a welder, he has no documentation to show he's a welder. But you actually tell him, here is the welding machine, can you weld? And you assess what he has done, and based on that, you form accreditation. This is actually a best practice we have picked from South Africa, which of course I would say is highly placed in terms of sharing experiences within this particular sector. The other thing also, maybe just to also show you how we have been working on this particular sector, we've come up with what we call Mafundi Mufti, okay? And Mufti basically is kufanya kitu kwa imara. How well do you use your hand tools? You remember the problem, as you've mentioned here, that we used to have village polytechnics that were converted to universities. So right now, in terms of documented site construction workers who actually have documents to show that they can do work, we have a problem on that. And that is why we have formed a task force, which is actually by mid of February, we'll be actually giving our report on that, on how to move forward to address that. And remember, if you're going to develop our country and attain the 2030 Millennium Goals that have been enshrined within the vision of this country, then you cannot do it without, I would say, the watu wa mkono. If you go to the US today and you want a plumber to come to your house, or you want an electrician,
they're very expensive.
You're actually going to pay $100 for the guy to come for 1 hour. I think what had happened within our country, we had lost a bit of track when we focused on what we call the white-collar jobs. Yeah. And we forgot that to build a nation, you build your nation with hands. And that is why the government felt it necessary to come up with this particular authority, the NCA.
Somebody from Moise Bridge says that the authority demands about 100,000 and above to authorize the construction of a two-room house. Is that the case?
I would like to understand how that is possible. Let's do a
corruption of your normal fees.
Let's actually separate it. That's not our normal fees, because first and foremost, I've told you, if the project is 5 million and below, there is no levy. Okay? No levy, yeah. The registration of it is free, and let that be very clear out there. If it is a 10 million project and you work out 5% of that, then you'd be probably approaching 50,000, I think, in terms of approval. And then you have to remember, this levy, what is it for?
Yeah, for training.
Yes, okay. We're complaining on one side we don't have enough carpenters, we're complaining we don't have enough masons, and at the same time we don't want to create capacity for them.
Somebody is asking, if a contractor has the capacity,
yes,
these are foreign contractors, why would you want to limit them to one contract only?
You see, at the end of the day, Kenya belongs to us. If we're going to keep having foreigners coming and working, and we as a country are not benefiting from that in terms of transfer of technology, are we going to say that we want our country to be built by foreigners for the rest of our lives? I would say the answer is no. And that is why we have to limit it. You see, the key thing, just like when you're issuing work permits, you must be giving a work permit to somebody because you don't have that capacity or that skill within the country.
In terms of training, are we expecting, because training is actually now the politics within the county government, not national government.
Yes.
So what are you doing to revive that and to make sure that the training is there?
With this,
with the levy, how do you spend the levy?
Yeah, let me give you a good example. Like with Mafundi Mufti, as I've mentioned,
yes.
It's a 4-day program, okay? That cuts across painting, cuts across masonry, cuts across steel fixing, cuts across roofing, okay? And within those 4 days, these people who have been within the construction network are able to pick up those skills. We have already done 3 pilot projects. We did one in Siaya. We have done in Nairobi. In fact, if you go to Kibra, we actually did the exercise there where we actually even identified the artisans, the women, okay? We have also extended it to Bomet County, Eldoret, and as we progress, we'll be able to, I'll use the word, spread the gospel across the country so that we can continue to increase capacity. If you look at our strategic plan for the next 5 years from 2015 up to 2020, we're talking about training 1.5 million skilled workers, and we're talking about 500,000 site supervisors, okay? Yeah. And what we've also done, just to ensure that, you cannot work alone, the construction sector has got very many players. Yeah. We have joined hands with paint companies, we've joined hands with tile companies, we've joined hands with steel millers, okay? All the players. Together, if you work as a team, you'll be able to uplift the standard of construction.
Let me read some questions from our viewers. Yeah. Somebody's asking if you put containers.
Yes.
Of course, obviously, you don't need the authority from NCA.
Yes.
Do you?
Yes. You see that container?
The container, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's discuss it, yes. That container,
yeah.
Are you going to connect power to it?
Yes.
Are you going to connect plumbing to it?
Yes.
A container, by the way, even
a container
is not was designed to carry goods.
Yeah.
It was not designed to accommodate somebody. So you have to modify it.
So
okay.
You need?
Yes. You need to report. The issue is you need to report. And you see, look at it this way. Even the use of a container in a way is innovation within construction. Yeah. And remember, we as the authority in terms of coordination of construction activities, we need to be able to borrow. You're using that container. Can you share that information with us so that we can actually see whether that is the way we can start addressing the issue of solving the problem of housing within the country? But you also remember the first principle of a container, because it's one of the debates I've always found interesting. Why don't we do houses with containers? Yeah. The original design of a container is for putting on a lorry to transport goods. Yep. After some time, when somebody is tired of that container, that is when they sell it, and then it becomes, what do you call it, an item which can be used within the construction sector.
Another question. Bricks. Building bricks.
Yes.
Or soil.
Yes.
There was a time we used to have mixed sand and soil and sisal, or some stuff to build blocks for building.
Yes.
That died.
Yes.
In many countries like America, they had no stone building. Most of it wood.
True.
Because they don't quarries.
True.
Why is it that in this country you must build with stones from the quarry?
You know, the problem really is, there are two things. One, we have a building code which we basically inherited
from colonials.
Yes.
Yes. Which,
in fact, the building code as we have right now in the country of Kenya is a 1948 document, but within our laws it was enshrined in 1968. 1968 is how many years ago? Yeah. We're approaching close to what, 50? I mean, almost approaching 50. Now, remember, a lot of us grew up in huts. Maybe not my generation, but maybe your generation.
I lived in a wooden hut with the grass.
Yes.
Grass roof.
So what was your mind telling you to show that I have developed?
I built a stone house.
I believe in a stone house with a mabati, yes.
Yes.
So when I start telling you can build with wood, you almost think that I'm taking you back to the colonial. So it's just that perception. When you travel abroad, and as you've mentioned, if you look at the size, the thickness of a wall, actually when you knock, sometimes you wonder, is there any... So it's really that perception that a house must be solid.
But it is our local authorities that impose that.
Yes, but I've told you where the origin of that comes from, which is within our,
Why can't
our
you
building
change
code.
that?
That is also going on right now, the revision to the building code. Okay, so that instead of, you know, the way the code is right now, it specifies a material. But now the way we had wanted to revise the code, specify a performance. So that you don't say the wall has to be a 200 millimeter thick wall of stone, but you say you want something that is going to prevent excess heat coming in or excess cold, is going to be able to support the structure. Okay, that is really where we are going, and that is what when you look at within part of our docket in terms of what we're supposed to be doing in terms of spearheading the construction industry. Can we come up with new innovative ways of delivery?
There are some people who are selling that equipment for making bricks.
Yes.
And they're advertising that you can make a house, and they're serious advertising about that.
Yes.
Are they in conjunction with you? Do you know about them?
We are aware of their existence, and you see, as I was saying, we have to encourage new ways of construction within the sector. But you also have to remember that, like that building block, even if it's a soil block, the component of a walling in a building is just one of the many items. We need innovation indoors. Because, like now, glass, let's take a good example. Glass, by the way, is probably the most expensive part within the construction. So somebody should start asking, what can we use instead of glass? Okay, that is how you're going to do it. Even when you do a container, have we come up with something new in terms of the wiring? We're still using the same wiring, whether it is a masonry house. We're still using the same piping, whether it is masonry or whether it is a grass thatched house. So those are the things we have to look at.
Somebody says you are registering quacks.
Yes.
As contractors.
Okay.
With the false papers.
Okay.
These quacks have really ruined the profession.
Yeah.
It's a major plot, but yeah.
Yeah. What I would respond to that is that all registration processes...
Engineer Githinji.
Oh, Engineer Githinji. That's nice to hear. I probably even know him. One of the things I wanted to mention about the issue of quacks is that, remember, we are new. So we've done 3 years, okay? And in the initial stages, when we're doing the registration process, we had actually what we would say, you will call them quacks, I would call them criminals. You'd have somebody sending you a logbook as part of his plant machinery of a car registered KBT 800C, and the data on that logbook is for 1975. Now, whether you talk about the authority, but look at that level. We've even had scenarios when we're doing our quality control where somebody goes and brands a pickup NCA, and you look at it and you think it is NCA, but somebody has actually just become a criminal going around masquerading. So there are elements, I would say, within the country, just within our registration process, and just like every Kenyan, that's why we have jails, that's why we have the EACC. We're not immune to that, but we're doing our best to address it. And one of the things we've been calling out there, if there's any contractor who by any chance you think has got registration fraudulently, by the way, our list is on the website. Please share that information with us so that we can make the necessary efforts to correct that scenario.
So for you to be registered as a contractor, what do you need?
It depends on on the level. Yes. But of course, at the highest level, you must have a director who has qualifications within the construction sector.
What about the basic one?
The basic one, that one when you're just starting as yourself, because remember you're talking about projects of 5 million and below. Just the normal thing, your business name, and of course your tax compliance, of course, and then also showing your intention in terms of projection of sticking to the principles of professionalism within the construction sector. Okay.
Thank you very much, Naundo.
Okay.
We have run out of time, and wanted you know that you can't just build. You must inform the National Construction Authority. Even if you're building your own house in your village, they must know. Not because of taxing, but also because of information. Stay tuned.